The next best thing from the Sixers winning an NBA championship is to lose Bryan Colangelo as GM. And let me tell you, that wish happened today. Our wishes have come true, guys. Bryan Colangelo is out as the Sixers GM. Well, if you haven't been a part of this Totel story that's been happening, this drama series, this soap opera, so to speak, Bryan Colangelo has been accused and was caught using 5 burner accounts on Twitter. Okay? There was links between him and the Sixers. There was links between him and the Toronto GM who took over Bryan Colangelo. And then there were accounts linked to where his son goes to school and are friends with his son. So all fingers point to him. The Sixers hired people to do an investigation on Bryan Colangelo. He denied it to the fullest, of course. But this just shows me him resigning. He was afraid what they were going to find. He said it was his wife. Of course, that's not true. We all know that. He was using her as a patsy. Why would your wife, first off, go around and bash Sixers players, bash the guy that took your job over there in Toronto, who was doing a better job, in my opinion, and you would talk about boasting yourself. Why would your wife do that? Stick up for you, saying your collars were a great way of style or something like that. This dude is an egotistical rat. He only got anywhere because of what his dad did in the league. You went off of what your daddy did, and then his daddy came out and tried to save him yet again, saying he would ruin the Sixers' relationships, basketball relationships, if we didn't drop this case. Well, guess what? Your daddy is an old, decrepit peacock. He has no more pull anymore, all right? You're done. You shouldn't get hired as a GM in the near future. You were awful, BC. You did nothing. You just sit there and bash and criticize, do this and that, and you didn't technically build any franchise, in my opinion, to make it greater, and you didn't do anything with us. And thank God you weren't able to put a staple on this team and ruin it even further. So, as of now, Bryan will take control of basketball operations, and I think this is good. We're not going to miss a beat. I don't think this is going to affect us at all. I would like for Bryan to be in this position, to make the moves, be able to make decisions, because he is running the team. So this might benefit us in a sense. But thank God Bryan Colangelo is out as GM, resigns today. But just to, how low and shallow do you got to be to use your wife as a patsy? How often do you really share, those of you who have girlfriends and wives and all, how often are you going to share every little detail about your job? You don't, all right? Gossip like this and that. So it's even asinine to think that your wife would come on here, get on Twitter, for one, and then talk badly about Sixers players and the GM of Toronto's, other players, and then about you. It's pathetic, BC. And I really think this is going to put a mark on his career going forward, on his resume. I don't know if David Griffin could be an option. I've heard other names floating around. I've heard Joe Dumars possibly here. Chauncey Billups, way back, what was about a year ago, had rumored that he was going to take a GM job for the Cavaliers before that happens. So, funny to say this, and it probably is not going to happen, but how about we bring Hinkie back? Let this guy finish what he started. Come out here and complete the process. He started it. Bring him back. But I don't know who the Sixers are going to look for to fill that GM spot. This has been a little bit of turmoil and tarnished on the Sixers. It's nice because we had a little bit of Sixers news, We've been watching these finals. They've been awful. I was going to do videos on them, but it was pointless. It's like, what are you going to talk about? It's a juggernaut team versus LeBron James and nothing else. So the outcome was going to be a sweep from the beginning. Did the affect Sixers' chances of signing Legault? I don't think so. It's not like BC had great relationship with everybody around there. Sorry, guys. But I'm like a kid on Christmas here. I didn't want BC from the start when we hired him. I was very leery. I was a huge Hinkie supporter, loved him from day one and his vision, what he was trying to complete. And then for Jerry Colangelo to be inserted into the Sixers organization because Squidward didn't like what we were doing going forward as an organization, to really build it from the ground up. So they inserted Jerry Colangelo, and then BC was out of work, so of course Daddy's going to do everything for his son to get him a job. So he inserted him here. Again, he didn't do much. I think you don't miss on Ben Simmons. You only got that pick because of Sam Hinkie. Okay, that's the only reason we were in that position to get the #1 overall pick. You waited too long to trade Nerlens Noel. That affected us. So a knock against BC. Another knock was waiting too long to trade Okafor. You know, it's another blemish on your resume, BC. So what have you really done? The only thing he really did was take the picks that Sam Hinkie again acquired to trade up to get a Markelle Fultz. Now, I was happy that he did that. I didn't know if he'd have the backbone to go trade up. And I know there's a lot of fans out there that are upset that's saying, oh, look at Tatum. It was an awful trade. Fultz is a bust. He's not going to become anything. You can't judge this trade, okay? We're not going to be able to judge this trade until 3 years down the road. Of course, Tatum looked phenomenal. He really killed us in the playoffs. But you can't compare a guy that played 82 games versus a guy that played 14. It's just not a fair assessment. Obviously, over the course of the time, and he was the most pro-ready coming out of college, was Jason Tatum. So that's not a fair trade. I just want to put that to bed. So we will see what is to become of the Sixers, who they hire as a GM going forward. But as of now, it's Brett Brown taking rations, and I'm happy with that. I don't think they're going to leave Brett Brown there. I think they want him to mostly focus on coaching this team and building it up and getting a better assessment of the team, what is going to happen with Markelle Fultz, and what we're going to do over the offseason. We got the draft to look forward to. That's in 2 weeks. It's coming up because this finals is going to be over quite soon. But I don't think they're going to have those duties fall on Brett because he won't be able to focus on coaching. You want to build off this 52-win season. But how do you guys feel about this? Any questions? Any concerns? Everybody happy about this, or am I the only one? Am I the only one jumping for joy that rat-faced scumbag is out there who uses his wife as a patsy? I mean, come on. If you're going to fall on the sword, do it yourself. He's the kind of guy that, you go to the bridge and he's just going to push you right off, says he's going to do something, and then be a sniveling little rat and run away. But I think I saw Eric said he was happy. Is that true? Eric, are you happy? You don't want Joe Dumars that I saw, and you're not a big fan of David Griffin. Yeah, I'm ready to get rid of Jerry, too. Just boot him out for even making those comments saying, how petty can you be? You're going to ruin the Sixers' relationships in basketball. Who do you think will be our next GM? I couldn't tell you, Rel Roar. It could be maybe Chauncey Billups. I heard his name floating around. Joe Dumars, David Griffin's out there. I honestly couldn't put a finger on who I think would be the next GM. I'm saying bring back Hinkie, baby. Nah, Philly 0024. Ron, Sam already has the full credit for the process. He could get all our credit. Yeah, bring back Hinkie, please. It wouldn't make sense for him to go anywhere else. Bring him back. He built it from the ground up. Let him finish this. Let him come back instead of being forced out like he was because of the Colangelos. Let's oust them. Let's pull a little Trojan horse and get Sam Hinkie back with the Sixers. Zarin is pretty good. Keep up the good work. David Griffin. I mean, there was a awful situation that happened with him in Cleveland. Josh Harris during the press conference sounded dumb and uneducated about on this team. Yeah, he's not a basketball guy. He's the money guy. Harris. He's not a sports. He's not a knowledgeable sports person. He's more of a crunch in the numbers money type of player. So it would be nice to have a part owner that knew something about it. But don't really want to get Bennett. Don't really want the guy that drafted Bennett. Yeah, that is a bad blemish, but he did draft Kyrie. He had a couple good drafts there. I'm not sure. I'd really have to take a look at his resume to see what he's really done and what he brought to the table. But he really got hinkied, too, over there in Cleveland because that whole beef with LeBron and the owner. Howie Roseman for GM. There you go. Let's see if Howie can do it. I know the Seahawks owner has a basketball, or he's pushing to get a basketball team back in Seattle, but I think he owns the Mariners. I would like David Griffin, but I honestly don't want. I can't wait to. Philly 500 might be jumping for joy too. Elton Brand has been groomed. I know he's down there with the Blue Coats. Maybe that's what he's in training to do to maybe possibly come up. But I think he's still a little wet behind the ears, still too green for him. But that could be a consideration. Hey, AI, right? AI said he, instead of coaching, he'd love to be a GM. Let's get AI to come in and be an assistant GM. I don't think Howie can multitask. That's really tough, to tell you the truth, Cowboys X Factor, to be able to do that. But I know the owner of the Seahawks has his hand in 2 teams. Do I think we'll hire a GM before the draft? I don't know how long this process is going to be. I don't know if they had somebody in mind. I'd like to get that done, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sometime in July or August. So, you know, I'm just glad we put this dumpster fire out when we could, to have a negative effect on the Sixers, because of all the negative connotations that has been with this team over the past few years when we started this process. So to add light onto this, it's kind of nice though, because you look at how hated Hinkie was for all the stuff he was doing, and you had BC and Jerry Colangelo sitting on their pedestal, on their high horse, looking down at this guy, and it's just perfect because look what he went and did. Sam Hinkie never had burner accounts and had all this riffraff happening. So, do you think resignation is an admission of guilt? Absolutely. I thought he did it from day one. He was scrambling just to try to keep his job, so he used his wife as a patsy. Brown has a lot of Spurs connections he needs to pluck off their tree. Absolutely, Eric. I'd love that. Let's get R.C. Buford over here. Let's pull him. Kyle, do you think they bring Hinkie back? Would be awkward. Depends how the relationships and if he burned bridges before he left. I know the fan base wants him back, but I don't know what really happened behind closed doors between the owners. I know Brett Brown supported Sam Hinkie, but I don't know if they left on bad terms or not. I don't think Hinkie's coming back here. I don't think Squidward would ever let Sam Hinkie become a GM or run any type of basketball team in the NBA. It might take some time. Hinkie is with the Denver Broncos. He's got some affiliations with that. He's a numbers guy. You know, you're starting to see analytics spill over. You know, it's starting in baseball. You're starting to see analytics kind of go into every sport now from the Warriors front office. I don't think it would be awkward. Be hard. I know Steve Nash is over there. How awesome would it be to have Steve Nash here? He's an assistant with the Warriors. I think he's an assistant to the assistant GM. But, hey, I'd pluck Steve Nash in a heartbeat. Let's get him over here running this team. Great player. I know great players always don't really convert into, you know, being coaches or GMs or whatever. But you look at Jerry Wested. I think he's did a fine job. Joe Dumars wasn't the greatest. I've also heard Isaiah Thomas's name floating around. Yeah, Kurtz, I would love Nash. He'd be dope to get him in here. But, all right, guys, I'm on my break, so I got to get out of here. Just wanted to break this awesome news. I'm ecstatic. That was the only real thorn in my side about the Sixers. But next to them not winning a championship, this is the second best thing. All right, guys, leave your comments, concerns. What do you think? BC no longer a GM with the Sixers. We can really flourish and move on, baby. All right, KG on BB, I'm out. Peace.